Welcome to another episode. We are in scary October for small screen cinema with Tabitha and Dad. Yeah, yeah. It's hard to point when you're on Zoom, so
Yeah.
I do get that. Um, but yeah, this is our month that we are doing all horror films, and Tabitha is going to go through the horror made-for-TV classic, The Legend of Lizzie Borden. Tabitha, take it away.
Excuse me. So, Lizzie Borden is a true crime case that I'm sure everyone is at least passingly familiar with. Do you know the rhyme?
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her father 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her mother 41.
That's correct, yes.
Yes. So,
So basically, Lizzie Borden was a 32-year-old woman living at home with her father, Andrew, stepmother, Abby, and older sister, Emma. The family was quite wealthy, but Andrew Borden was also very stingy, or frugal is a nicer way to put it, I guess.
are we going to do background on this?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you were jumping right to the movie.
No. I'm summarizing the real case.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm old.
Okay.
I don't think as fast as you.
On the morning of August 4th, 1892, Andrew and Abby were found murdered in their home. They were killed with actually it was a hatchet, but I guess axe rhymes better with wax. Lizzie was zeroed in on as the prime suspect and was put on trial for the killing. She was acquitted and she lived in wealth and seclusion for the rest of her life. She passed away in 1927. That's basically what happened. I've seen a few Lizzie Borden movies and specials before. There's a 2014 TV movie with Christina Ricci that's called Lizzie Borden Took an Axe. And I remember that one being pretty good. Uh, Let me see. Then there was the theatrical film, I think it was theatrical from 2018, just called Lizzie with Chloe Savini and Kristen Stewart. And both of those are like, no, she did it. She was guilty, very definitively. Um, I've also seen an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which suggests that maybe Emma was the killer. Ooh, interesting.
Ooh.
Did Lizzie really do it? I don't know. I mean, it was so long ago, we'll probably never really know at this point. Maybe, maybe not. The telefilm, The Legend of Lizzie Borden, aired on ABC February 10th, 1975. It ran against Maud, Rhoda, and Medical Center on CBS, and I guess again local programming on NBC. It was written by William Bast, who, according to him, was James Dean's lover. According to him, I don't
Ah,
know how true. I don't know how true that is. He for sure did know him and like was his friend, and he wrote like 3 books about it. I don't know. He wrote other telefilms and he wrote quite a bit for shows like Perry Mason, It Takes a Thief, The Mod Squad, and The Waltons. He passed away in 2015. And the film was directed by Paul Wenkos, a returning name, as he also directed The Death of Richie.
ah.
Mm. The movie stars Elizabeth Montgomery, and most people, I'm sure, know her as Samantha from Bewitched. And I
Yes.
watched that show a lot as a kid. It came on Nick at Night all the time. And I think what I really liked about it was that the opening credits were cartoon. So that got me all excited as like a 4-year-old.
And the daughter's name was?
Tabitha. Yeah. I occasionally an older person will still ask me if that's where I got my name from. And the answer is no.
Okay, I was just going to ask you that. So,
No, I was not named after the little child witch on Bewitched. Montgomery was the daughter of classic film star Robert Montgomery, and she made her television debut on his show, Robert Montgomery Presents. And she was quite prolific in TV movies, and we will probably see her on the show again. There, I can think of at least one more that I want to cover. And it turns out, and they didn't figure this out until after Elizabeth Montgomery had passed away, she is actually distantly related to Lizzie Borden. They're like,
really?
yeah, they're like sixth cousins or something crazy like that.
That's odd.
I know, right? Crazy. Elizabeth passed away in 1995. Next, we have Fionnuala Flanagan as maid Bridget Sullivan. Now, I know her, and you know her from The Others, the 2001 horror movie.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Um, a couple years later, she was also in a Mark Wahlberg action movie called Four Brothers. I know her from that. She's an Irish actress, and she's still working today, so good for her. Emma Borden was played by Katherine Hellman, and she's probably best known as the grandma on Who's the Boss.
Oh, no, no, no. She is
No?
best known for soap.
Oh, the show Soap? Fair.
Yes, she was awesome in that.
Oh no, I do have that written down. Yeah, she was also on Soap.
Oh, yeah.
I've only seen a few episodes of Soap.
Oh, God, you have to binge soap. It is so funny. Kathy and I, about 10 years ago, we just binged every episode of soap for about a month. It's awesome.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. She's also been in movies like Overboard, Brazil, and she's been a voice in all three Cars movies. Interestingly enough,
Wow.
and one weird semi connection. She was in a TV movie about the Sundance Kid's girlfriend. Elizabeth Montgomery was in a whole different movie about the Sundance Kid's girlfriend because apparently that was a hot topic in the 70s. Very strange. Anyway, Helbin passed away in 2019. Playing Andrew Borden is Fritz Weaver, and I know him from Creepshow, the same segment that Adrienne Barbeau was in. Other movies you might know him from would be Failsafe, Marathon Man, and the remake of the Thomas Crown Affair. He also worked on a million shows: Big Valley, The Fugitive, Gunsmoke, Barnaby Jones, Quincy, and The Love Boat. He passed away in 2016. And finally, Abby Borden was played by Helen Craig. She was in two movies in 1948 and one TV gig in 1951. And then there is a huge gap in her filmography until 1971. I didn't find out a lot about her, but I think she was just doing stage work during that time. Unsure. In any case, she worked pretty steadily from 71 until 77, and then she passed away in 1986. The writer William Bass won an Edgar Allan Poe Award for this movie. It also took home two Emmys, one for costumes and one for editing. And now the movie starts off with a title card reading, "The story you are about to see is based largely on fact. It is considered one of the most infamous and bizarre murder cases in the past century." I mean, there's been plenty of more bizarre murders since 1970, whatever. So we are now in Fall River, Massachusetts in 1892. It's early morning, church bells are ringing, the streets are mostly quiet, the sun is rising, some creepy music plays, and maid Bridget runs out of the Borden house over to the doctor's house and bangs on the door to no avail. And a nosy old biddy named Mrs. Churchill is just watching her run around like crazy to and from the Borden home. And then we get our first glimpse of Lizzie standing behind the screen door, just staring vacantly at nothing. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Mrs. Churchill decides to insert herself into their business and starts talking to her. Lizzie very calmly invites her in and tells her that someone has killed father. Well, that sounds like a party to Mrs. Churchill because she goes right in and is like, "Where's the body? I want to see."
I can see you doing that. Somebody has killed father, even though you've
I
never
would
told me
not.
father.
If
That
I
would be
wanted to be,
that would be Max. Somebody has killed father.
yeah, that's more sounds more like Max. um, Indeed, Andrew Borden is slumped over on a couch covered in blood. If you've ever seen the real photos, it's fairly accurate. After the kind of odd opening credits, the lower third tells us that this is the crime. This is kind of broken up into segments.
I did like how they did that in this movie. Uh, the crime, the accusation, the trump card. I liked I like that in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
thought
it
that
was
was
it
good.
was cool. So back at the house, the whole neighborhood seems to have gathered at Lizzie's home. Mrs. Churchill and some other woman named, I think her name was Alice, are trying to like take care of Lizzie in the kitchen, who still isn't showing much of a reaction. Dr. Bowen comes in and tells them that Andrew has been dead less than a half hour. He asks where Emma is. Emma is out of town visiting friends. And that was true. Emma was reportedly not in Fall River at the time of the killings. At last, it occurs to them that nobody's seen Abby through all this, the stepmother.
I think that's kind of bizarre. I can see in the commotion uh, of a well respected citizen in the community dying, and oh my gosh, he's hey, wait a minute, where's his wife? So,
Yeah, it does take them quite a while to be like, hold on a second.
see, that's I have in capital letters in my notes. Why didn't they check the house when they found Mr. Borden? Because that's the first thing I would do is, all right, we need to find out if whoever did this is still here, and then they would have found her, but they just,
You would think so. Clearly, this was not a natural death. So yeah, you would think maybe we should see if the killer's still in here.
oh my gosh, he died of hepatitis.
So Bridget is scared to search the house. Lizzie's like, just go upstairs, do as I say. Um, Mrs. Churchill, who loves looking at corpses, offers to go upstairs with her in the hopes of finding another. And sure enough, Abby is dead in the spare
There's
bedroom.
another of
And Mrs. Churchill's like, this has been the best day ever. Emma has been sent for and arrives home to just the entire town outside her house. Dad and stepmom have been laid out on the kitchen table. Gross. That's real gross. You expect me to
yeah.
eat off of that after that? Um, they are covered with sheets, and Dr. Bowen shows her Andrew's body for some reason. It's not like he needs to be identified, but Emma goes to see Lizzie, and the first thing she asks is if Lizzie did this, which it's not great when your sister, her first thought is, did you kill dad and stepmom? Be real.
Now, did
Um,
this all happen in the same day, or did Emma come home a day or two later and they were
no,
still
I
in the
believe
day?
I believe it was the same day. She wasn't terribly far away, like a couple of towns over. Um,
Because Lizzie's dress is different when Emma gets home than it was when everybody's there initially.
mm,
I don't know if that was just a continuity flaw or what, but I did notice, hey, her dress has changed. I wonder why.
I guess it could have been the next day. I'm not an expert on the real crime, perhaps. Um, Naturally, Lizzie says, no, I didn't kill them. And Emma's, that's good enough for her. So they embrace. And that night, the doctors got Lizzie all doped up because, women. And she's also been so hysterical up until now. Emma says, this cracked me up. Emma says, you must put it out of your mind. Girl, it just happened. It reminds me there's a meme. It's every boyfriend in a horror movie. It says, you've been such a bitch since your mom died yesterday. Anyway, Emma promises Lizzie that she'll look after her. And I believe Emma was like 9 years older than her. So there was quite an age gap. Up in Bridget's room, she's praying for forgiveness. For what? Unsure. Emma's fallen asleep and Lizzie can't seem to, so she goes downstairs to stare at the bodies some more. What's wrong with this town?
Yeah.
Um, and wouldn't we have moved them to the doctor's office or the undertaker or
Yeah, that's
somewhere not there?
I got Lizzie gets up in the middle of the night, walks into the room where the bodies are. Why? And why are the bodies still there?
Seriously.
I
It
know I have heard that it used to be that they would lay the bodies out at the house where they died and people would initially come in and do their condolences. So I don't know if that was a situation, but these. people didn't die of natural causes. They are hacked up and everything. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, get rid of them. We need to eat breakfast. Can you take them away?
And not to mention, it's August. I'm just
Oh,
saying, they're
oh,
going to
and
turn real quick.
I've also got my notes. These I could not have lived in this time, especially the women, these heavy dresses, and they have to have everything covered. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I know how difficult it was whenever I used to have to wear a suit in the summer.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, why am I doing this? This is so stupid. Um, it, so I just thought it's the summer, it's hot, and my mind went to these people. They need to be liberated. They need to buy a pair of shorts and a tank top and just I, when you watch this, you can almost smell the body odor. At least I could. You know,
Yeah, I love that the heat is what made you a feminist. You're like, this isn't right. They can't be out here in this heat. Um, so while she's down there, Lizzie lifts up the sheet, I assume covering Abby, and gives it kind of a sneer. And then we move on to the next session called section. I can't talk tonight, called the accusation. It is the day of the funeral, so we can finally get those rotting bodies out of the house. And the women are gossiping about how Lizzie is not wearing black or a veil and that she hasn't cried. Like, mind your business. Mind your business. Lizzie's still staring vacantly at things. She watches the coffins being loaded into the carriage, and we see a quick flashback of her kissing her father in his open coffin. More on that later. A city marshal informs the doctor that the heads of Andrew and Abby are to be removed and shipped to a Dr. Wood of forensic medicine by order of the mayor. Oh, and don't tell Emma and Lizzie they have no right to know about something like that, I guess.
yeah, that and the heads are going to Harvard.
Yes. After the funeral, we're back at the house, and the mayor is requesting that Emma and Lizzie stay inside for a while. Lizzie just asked for the truth, and the mayor's like, all right, well, we think you did this. And Lizzie doesn't have much reaction. She's like, fine, take me in. Let's question me about it. But the mayor's like, well, I don't know about all that. Calm down. You can stay under house arrest for now, and we'll wait and have an inquest whenever we feel like getting around to it. So the mayor and his friends leave, and suddenly we are at the inquest. And Bridget is on the stand being questioned. She and Lizzie were the only ones in the house at the time of the slayings, to the best of her knowledge. She's asked to recount the events of the morning, and so we get our first prolonged flashback. Bridget's is pretty cheery. She's happily bidding Andrew good morning in the kitchen, and he's like, "Shut your stupid Irish whore mouth." And we see the first
They
glimpse.
are so mean to her.
They are so mean to her.
Gosh, yeah.
Um, we see the first glimpse of how tight Andrew is with his money because she's getting ready to make a fresh meal, which, you do. But apparently they've been eating the same mutton broth for 5 days straight. Bridget's like, that's probably gone bad. And he's like, no, serve it anyway. Ugh. He leaves the room and she calls him a mean old skinflint. Unsure what that means, but they say it a couple of times. Lizzie tells her to watch her mouth. She can call her dad that, but Bridget can't because, she's still the help. And when she opens this broth, it's all coagulated and there are flies. And are we sure Andrew didn't die of food poisoning? It was so nasty.
Yeah, the flies, the maggots. It was like, all right, Rose.
Right? So
That's an
after
inside
that,
joke.
what's that from?
Huh?
What's it from?
It's, it's from my mother who used to serve us.
Oh,
That's that's why I have an aversion for foods that have been past the expiration date because my mom didn't throw anything out. And yeah, sometimes things turned. So
Mm, I just have an aversion to it because my mom taught me to. She was so worried about things like that. She goes, "No, we're throwing that out." And Mondo is the opposite. He's like, "What? It's fine." He smells it. He's like, "It's fine." I'm like, "But the date says today. It's fine." So we go back and forth on that. So after that horrible display, Andrew leaves the house and Bridget starts the dishes while Abby is dusting, which I was actually surprised to see the woman of the house doing some house cleaning when they already have a maid. But
yeah, that
I
was kind of
guess,
different.
yeah, I guess she's got to do something with her day. So Abby orders Bridget to wash the windows inside and out. And Bridget whines about this, saying that she doesn't feel well, she's got a headache. And I can't tell if she's legitimately feeling sick or if she's just a crappy maid. Because they are really mean to her, but she was also getting kind of annoying.
I don't know. I think she was really sick because the broth was kind of gross, and
That's true.
yeah, and I think that uh, Mr. Borden was sick from the broth too when he came home and laid down because that's some nasty stuff.
It really was. Um, anyway, either way, Abby doesn't give a shit. She's just like, just get to it. And when she's out of her sight, Bridget calls her a stinking, smelly cow. Still, she goes to work. So she says at the inquest that she went to work, washed all the windows, chatted with a neighbor, refilled her pail with fresh water, didn't see anyone enter the house until Andrew got home. She has trouble opening the door for him when he gets home, and Lizzie is appearing to laugh at her from the top of the landing. Um, when she finally lets Andrew in, Lizzie goes to talk to him. He's at that couch and he asks where Abby is. She said Abby went out. She got a note apparently from a friend who was ill, so she went out to tend to that.
Real quick,
And yeah,
um, the door is locked with a few locks, and that's why
mm,
she's having trouble opening the door for Mr. Borden. I I don't know why they're locking the doors during the day during that time period. Um, it just seems a little odd. But Mr. Borden wasn't the most popular man in town. He had made his enemies, so maybe they were locked, they kept things locked up because he had his enemies. I don't know. I'm speculating.
that could very well be. I could see, based on this movie, I could see him just ordering to keep the house locked, at all times. At least the front door. So yeah, that would make sense. Was I? Lizzie asks her father if he would like to take a nap, and he says after I read the paper. It's kind of a cold interaction. Lizzie leaves him be and goes to talk to Bridget. She tells her that she can finish the windows later, and for now she should go and rest. And you don't have to tell Bridget twice. Off she goes. But she says she was only up there for a few minutes and she never fell asleep. And then suddenly she heard Lizzie screaming. She also says she didn't hear anything about Abby going out of the house except on Lizzie's say so. She didn't see her leave, hear her leave, anything like that. Bridget is released from questioning and she is out of there, like just almost out of the movie. She pops up a little bit later on. Emmett confirms to Lizzie that Bridget is leaving them. One theory, and this is the basis for the Kristen Stewart movie Lizzie, is that Lizzie and Bridget were lovers and committed these crimes together. Again, I'm not an expert on this case. I have no idea if there's any actual basis for that. I just thought I'd mention it.
It does make sense.
Yeah, yeah. Lizzie never married, so a lot of I feel like queer people in that time period are like, yeah, they just lived a lifelong bachelor or bachelorette, and it's like, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lizzie is then called to the stand, and she smiles at the judge, and he smiles back at her in a way that suggests he definitely thinks this is silly. She couldn't have done this.
Yeah, I it was almost like, let's go through this dog and pony show. So,
Right. So then the DA named Hosea starts to question her. Her father was a wealthy man, yes. Did he ever mention a will to her? Was she on good terms with her stepmother? If they were fine, why didn't she call her mother? She called her Abby. Um, and I'm touchy around this subject, I admit it. And I'm like, probably because she wasn't her damn mother. Her father chose her. Lizzie did not. She's under no obligation to call this woman mother, but I know it was a different time, but still. She said she never saw Abby as a mother. She never went to Abby for mothering. She'd always turn to Emma if she needed it. And here's another brief flashback of Andrew and Abby just chowing down on that spoiled mutton broth and Lizzie looking absolutely disgusted by it. I mean, they're not making polite breakfast conversation or anything. They are just like,
yeah,
it's
it was
extremely unflattering.
eat.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was gross. Um, she starts to change her story slightly when the DA calls her out about something about going in and out of the house. And she's like, this has all been so trying. I don't remember what I've said. Dear me, somebody fetch me the vapors. When was the last time she saw Abby? When she went upstairs to change the sheets in the spare room. What about that note saying that she went out? Well, Abby told her about the note. Did she tell her where she was going, or who the note was from, or where the note is now? No, Lizzie does not have the answers to any of those questions. She says she went out to the barn after her father got home, and it took her about 15 to 20 minutes because she was just standing in the barn eating pears. And the DA is incredulous at that. He's like, you stood there that long doing nothing but eating pears. And I'm like, it's 1892. What do you expect her to be doing?
Well, also, she went to the barn to get lead to make sinkers
Oh,
for
yes, because she
fishing.
was going to go fishing. Yes.
Do you fish? But anyway,
Um, the judge then shows a little sense and says, let's suppose Lizzie were a man and telling this contradictory story. We would arrest him and wait for a trial. So Lizzie is detained, and Emma starts to cry. And then we move to the next segment called The Ordeal. So Lizzie is now in jail, and she's visited by the family lawyer, Mr. Jennings. He asks her if she committed the murder. She says she's innocent. She asks what she can expect from the trial. This part made me laugh. He says getting hanged is the worst case scenario. And with respect to Miss Montgomery, who generally I think gives a good performance in this, her mouth drops open like a fish, and she just starts having a freak out, and it's not good. It's it's not a great performance in this moment. Am I wrong?
no, you're right.
Okay.
It's the, the thing I also found funny was what can I expect? Well, the worst death by hanging. She should have already figured that out that if you get convicted of murder, you're going to die back in those days. But it's like it didn't cross her mind, so she freaks out. Oh no!
Right, you would think. I mean, did they even have any other penalty but the death penalty for murder back then?
Probably not.
In everything I've seen, they're like, you gotta hang. It's like, that's so harsh. Anyway, Dr. Bowen comes in and gives her a sedative, and then she remembers her father back when he was a mortician. And is this supposed to be her mother's body, or is he just creepy?
I think he's just creepy. I
Okay, because
maybe it was the mother's body. I didn't put that together, but I I think it was just a body, and he was just being creepy, thinking he
yeah,
was helping her.
yeah, it was weird. Later, after she's recovered from whatever that was, Emma comes to visit her in the jail, and she says she's going to pay for half the defense herself, even if she spends her whole inheritance. And Lizzie says she doesn't know if she can stand being in jail for however long it takes to go to trial. And Emma's like, it's okay. I'm going to be here for you. And Emma says that it's always been harder for Lizzie. Not sure how, but apparently it has been. And Lizzie breaks down in Emma's arms, and Emma starts singing her a lullaby. So you really do see how it's more of a maternal relationship than strictly a sister thing.
Yeah, and she says that Lizzie is special. And she
Mm-hmm.
says, I don't want to be special. And I don't know if they mean special like mentally challenged, special in that she is so narcissistic she's a sociopath. She is different, definitely.
She is different, yes. Um, I think that's what they meant. I don't think they knew enough back then to be any more specific than that, like, oh, Lizzie's just different.
Yeah,
Um, so sometime after that, her cell is all decked out like it's her bedroom.
I noticed that. I thought, my gosh, she's like got Capone's cell, it's
Right? She's got her wardrobes in there, like her vanity. It's like, okay. Emma bought her a new hat, and they're talking about what she's going to wear at the trial.
and Lizzie is
Reporter,
excited about this, about what she's gonna wear at the trial.
yeah, it's a little weird. It's just a little weird. Reporter wants to interview her, and Lizzie's like, "Oh, the life of a celebrity. You wouldn't understand, Emma." Like she's acts so put out by this. During the interview, the reporter asks why a man so rich didn't even have indoor plumbing, just a basement outhouse, which is a fair question. And she said it was because they had intended to move soon. And she talks her father up like he was a kind and generous man. And she didn't really think that. We'll get to that later. The reporter, this is just me being childish. The reporter says she's difficult to penetrate, to which I said, that's what he said. He asks her the hardest part about being in jail. And she says the night, the dark, that they don't even let her have a candle. She also says it hurts when they say that she doesn't show grief and doesn't cry. She says, sure, she doesn't do that in public, but they don't see her when she's alone. And that is fair. A lot of people, including myself, will judge like innocence or guilt based on how someone acts. And it is tempting to do that, but people react in funny ways to disaster and grief. So I always try to keep that in mind. I laugh at funerals. I can't help it.
No,
I
they're
don't
hilarious.
no, I don't think it's funny that someone has died and people are mourning. But I've never been to a funeral I didn't start laughing. I don't know why. There's
so,
something wrong with me.
so you're gonna laugh at my funeral.
I Yeah, but I feel like you will appreciate that.
Oh, there better be a lot of laughter at my funeral. I didn't go through this life to just die and everybody to cry. I'm Everybody better say, "Oh, he was a funny guy." So,
he was a funny guy. So the DA is at his own house lamenting that public support is on Lizzie's side just because she's a woman. Because yeah, we women have always had all the advantages over men. Everyone knows that. His wife said that, well, Lizzie's a Sunday school teacher, which I say, well, case closed. Religious people don't do bad things. Um, Hosea basically says that now he just kind of wants her convicted out of spite. He's just annoyed that she's getting so much support and that's only fueling his determination, which I feel like is not a great mindset to go into when you're a prosecuting attorney, but whatever.
yeah, I felt like he was jealous of her notoriety because he wasn't getting notoriety as the DA in this high
Mm.
profile thing. Oh, why aren't the reporters talking to me? Why aren't they writing articles that are negative? I brought up good evidence. We're going to go to trial here and everybody's going to see this. But
I thought about that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So finally, the trial does start, and Lizzie is being quite cruel to Emma because she brought her the wrong gloves to wear. Like, what a bitch! She says it's almost like you want me to hang, and she apologizes, but still, maybe a little gratitude for everything that Emma has done for you.
Yeah, she definitely is a narcissist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's quite a crowd outside. They're practically mobbing the DA as he enters the courtroom.
And
And
and and this crowd, they have like women's rights posters and stuff.
hmm,
And it looked like it was just poster board with magic marker or crayon. I'm thinking, did they even have poster board back then? I would think it would have been like a wooden sign or something, but it looked like poster board.
listen, what signs were not in their budget, okay?
Okay. So
No, you're right. Um, and he says, or is it him or is it somebody else? One of the guys says, "We haven't had a good witch hunt since Salem." Gross.
I think that was just one of the guys.
Okay, yeah. Um, so let the trial begin. Bridget is back to be questioned, and the defense asks if she liked working for the Bordens. And she said, sure. It's not like she was calling her boss a cow behind her back or anything. Did she witness any quarrels in the family? Oh, no. And then predictably, we get a flashback to Andrew and Abby fighting with Lizzie.
Yeah.
They,
Before that, something I want to bring up. Of course, the jury is all older white men because that's her peers, I guess.
yes.
Um, but also, apparently, her pastor gives her a corsage before the trial begins. And so I'm thinking, was that theatrics for the jury? Like, oh, even the pastor believes in her, or I don't know. I just thought that that was a little too theatrical.
Yeah, yeah, that could have been. I feel like the pastor would probably genuinely believe in her, but I suppose it could have just been for show.
See, when I was in the ministry, I always thought everybody was guilty because I know what human beings are like. So,
I was gonna say, and you were right.
yeah, yeah. So,
Um, so in this flashback, Andrew and Abby are accusing Lizzie of stealing money. And she's like, if I did, which I didn't, I only did it because you're so stingy. She doesn't get new dresses. There's no baths in the house. She hates the house. She hates it there. She hates her life. Abby calls her spoiled. And speaking as a spoiled former only child myself, I get what Lizzie is saying. It would drive me crazy too. And it's not as if women had a lot of options to make their own money at the time. You're totally dependent on the men in your life, you know? But at the same time, it is his money and he's allowed to do with it what he chooses.
but she's she mentions that she gets an allowance of $200 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Abby brings up that she took this like extravagant trip.
Yeah.
So I don't know if $200 would pay for an extravagant trip and everything else that she has going on during the year that she apparently has to live off of.
I looked this up. $200 a year would have been about 7K for a whole year.
Ah,
Yeah. Um, but also she is presumably not paying rent there, paying for her food or anything. So what does she have to spend it on except whatever she wants?
yeah.
Anyway, Andrew says that she and him used to be so close, and why is she acting like this? And she says she feels suffocated. She's 32. She feels like she's a prisoner there. Let me see here. Yeah, Abby and Andrew say that she squandered her mother's inheritance and half of Emma's too by taking that trip. So she wasn't just using her allowance for that. And then that she got the bigger room on that trip apparently, and Emma had to sleep in like a tiny little closet, and that's really shitty. And Emma probably should have put her foot down about that. Abby accuses Lizzie of throwing tantrums to get her way, and then Lizzie kind of threateningly stalks towards her, and Abby like jumps to hide behind Andrew. It's like, geez. He tells her that she's going to learn not to bite the hand that feeds her if he has to cut her off altogether. That threat sounds like a motive.
Yep.
Back at the trial, the doctor is now on the stand, and Hosea asks him what Lizzie was wearing the morning of the murders and if she had any blood on her. He holds up a dress and is like, "Is this what she was wearing?" The doctor's not sure. He says he doesn't think so. On cross examination, he admits that he has been drugging Lizzie to the gills since the killing. Regular injections of morphine. That sounds fun. Give me some of that. Her lawyer says that couldn't this cloud her memory and cause hallucinations? Well, yeah, but she's a woman. We can't have her getting all hysterical. It's better to just keep her drugged. And the next segment is called The Betrayal. Now, Emma's friend Alice is being questioned by the DA, and she says that Lizzie confided in her the night before the murder, saying that she was afraid that her father's business associates were going to murder him, which is very
Yes.
convenient timing. Then we get a flashback of Andrew killing all of Lizzie's pet pigeons. And she's very upset about this. She's like, "Why would you do that?" And he doesn't give her a good answer. He just says, "They're not your pigeons. They're mine. Everything on this property is mine." Um,
And he did it
which,
because someone broke into the barn. So I guess he thought they were gonna steal the pigeons. So he thought, I'll just take away the temptation and kill the pigeons myself.
yeah, it was a bit weird. One pigeon does escape, and Lizzie's like, "Fly, fly." And
And the
I
pigeon
was,
said, okay,
I just
I'm
had
out
an
of here.
image. I had an image of Andrew coming out of the barn with a rifle and blowing it out of the sky. That doesn't happen, but I'm like, oh, wouldn't that suck? Anyway, Alice says that Lizzie said the house had been broken into recently in broad daylight while she was home. Hosea then goes on to ask her about an incident about a dress that happened after the funeral. Sure, she saw Lizzie burning a dress. Lizzie's excuse was it was old and covered in paint. Alice warns her not to do it, but Lizzie completely ignores her. And then after she does it, she's like, "Why didn't you stop me?"
Whoopsie daisy.
Right?
It's your fault. You didn't stop me.
Yeah. Why? This is your fault. Why would you do this?
It reminded me of that No Doubt song where Gwen Stefani sings, I'm just a girl. Why didn't you
Right.
stop? I'm just a girl. I can't think.
Right. Like, I'm literally just a baby girl. I don't know. The defense calls the dressmaker because, small town in 1892, you're getting locally made dresses. And she confirms that she did make that dress for Lizzie, and Lizzie did brush against fresh paint, so it really was ruined. Checkmate, Mr. DA. Then we get another flashback to Lizzie at like the general store, admiring this little hatchet. She asks the store owner for something to remove the stains on her dress, and while he's getting her that, she just puts the hatchet in her bag. And when she leaves, one of the other customers is like, "She stole something." And the owner's like, "It's cool. I'll charge her dad. He always pays for it."
She's pulling a Winona Ryder here. So
Which I'm like, how can you charge him accurately if you don't know what she stole? But whatever. By the way, there is a large sign on the front of the store that says Irish keep out. Poor Bridget. Did you
did
see that?
notice that.
Yes. And I know, I understand that anti-Irish sentiment used to be a thing in the day, but it was still like, geez.
It's like in Blazing Saddles. We'll accept everybody but the Irish.
Right, we don't want the Irish.
Oh, okay. The Irish can
All
come.
right. Excuse me. Back at the trial, Lizzie's inquest testimony is ruled inadmissible because she was denied counsel at the time, which does seem fair to me.
Yes.
Um, so Hosea is very upset because the trial is not going his way. He doesn't believe the dress with the paint on it. He doesn't believe that story. He doesn't think that was the same one she burned in the kitchen, which leads him to wonder, what was she wearing? More on that later. And the next segment is called the Trump card. And I would kindly ask 1975 not to use that word. It's triggering.
The Biden card.
There you go. Do that instead. So now we meet Dr. Wood. He's the doctor from Harvard who examined the heads. The DA asked for the results of his examination um, of the heads and the skirts with blood on them. Well, he says the hair that he found on the heads were animal hairs, and the blood on the skirts was menstrual blood. So this is really not going his way. Basically, he's saying the killer would have been covered in blood, and there was no trace of it on Lizzie just minutes after these killings. Lizzie has another flashback around a time where she's eavesdropping on Andrew and Abby. Abby is urging him to draw up a will, leaving everything to her because she knows the sisters would throw her out into the cold if something happened to Andrew. Which Andrew's finally like, fine, okay, I'll do it. Just leave me alone. To which I'm like, I feel like she would also throw them out into the cold if it all went to her.
Yeah. I mean, there's an easy way to do this. You split it up three ways.
That seems the sensible way to do this, yes. Anyway, Lizzie, who I guess her and Emma share that room all the time. Why is there a spare bedroom when Emma could just have her own room? Did I don't know. I just thought
I
that
hadn't
was
thought
odd.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Lizzie's like, "Oh, I'll see Abby dead first." Lizzie says she will not spend her life begging for crumbs off of that old sow. A lot of name calling toward Abby in this movie.
And mostly barnyard animals.
Right. A lot of comparison to barnyard animals. And this was only a day or two before the killings. So Andrew wouldn't have had time to go change his will. Back at trial, a different doctor takes the stand and tells the DA that he was able to determine the size of the murder weapon from the wound on Mr. Borden's skull. And they produce the skull in question, and it is the cleanest, most plastic looking thing I've ever seen. But there is a perfectly hatchet sized gash right in the forehead. And Lizzie passes out when he demonstrates. And based on the crowd reaction to this, Hosea seems to know that he's lost. He does not, he's like, oh man, they're still on her side. So the court adjourns until the next morning. At home with his wife, she actually takes up for Lizzie. And I really like this scene in a way. She says that because he's like, oh, she's just hiding behind her skirts and she's just playing up the fact that she's a woman. And his wife says, you men can only blame yourselves if we hide behind our femininity to protect ourselves because that's all we have. And you put us into that role. And like his monocle was popping. He's like, next you'll be asking to vote. She says she doesn't sympathize with her deeds, but with her motives. Hosea completely scoffs at her. She tells him, like, you have no idea how heavy these skirts can be at time. It's August outside, you know. And you
People,
know,
people in power have such a hard time seeing the perspective of people who are not in power.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's, I'm not trying to get political here, but it is infuriating if you're not in power. Hey, I've got a voice. I'm a human being, and no, you're not. You're whatever. You're brown. You're gay or whatever. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're not fully human, and that was her reaction. I I'm sure that his wife was like years and years of this building up. I'm a human being, and I can't
Mm-hmm.
stand and scream it, but boy, I'm gonna let you know where I'm coming from here. And towards the end of that conversation, he softened just a bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was at this point I'm like, you know what? I hate him, even if he is right and she is guilty. And I don't expect better from men during this time period, but it was still frustrating to watch. And I liked that the scene was in there. Because it definitely factored in. to the whole case, I think, that Lizzie was a woman. So the next morning, Emma is on the stand and she's being questioned about the dress burning. And she does everything she can to cast the whole thing as perfectly innocent. They talk about a ring that Andrew wore that was a gift from Lizzie. And the flashback to it is so sinister. It's all like gauzy focus and creepy choir vocalizing. The DA asks if the relationship between Lizzie and Abby was cordial. Yeah, definitely. Lizzie at one point did call Abby mother. We never get clear on when she stopped or why she stopped, just kind of hints at it. We get another flashback with young Lizzie as a child, and Andrew says he wants her to call Abby mother, and Lizzie says, "My mother's dead." Andrew says death is nothing to be afraid of, and then he forces her to touch the dead body he's working on. What is wrong with this movie?
Oh, I had an aunt when I was growing up, and we would go to funerals when I was a kid, and she always made us touch their hands because she said then you won't have bad dreams about them, which triggered bad dreams that I touched a corpse when I was a kid. So
Oh, God.
I, most of these people I didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
we
Yeah.
just, your great uncle Billy Bob died, so we go to, and then Aunt Marcel touch his hand so you won't have bad dreams about Uncle Billy Bob. I don't even know this dude, but I'm for.
I don't know Uncle Billy Bob, but he's in my dreams now.
I remember the time she said, "This is your Uncle Freddie, Freddie Krueger. Now touch his hand so you don't have nightmares about him." And I cut myself touching his hand. I mean,
Unbelievable. So predictably, child Lizzie screams. She does not like this. So now we're at closing arguments. The defense attorney says that, quote, the eyes that cannot weep are the saddest eyes of all. And Hosea like rolls his eyes so hard at that. It really made me laugh. And our next segment is the verdict. But before the foreman reads it, we get yet another flashback. And this is the day of the killings. Lizzie makes sure that Bridget is outside, and then she locks the front door. She goes upstairs, sees Abby changing the sheets in the spare room, and pivots to her own room. She takes off her clothes, and this is a theory too as to why she didn't have any blood on her clothes. This is depicted in the Kristen Stewart one, Lizzie, that she was naked. And Lizzie Borden took an axe. She's wearing like a nightgown or one of those under dresses, the many, many layers that women had to wear. Anyway, so Lizzie is now naked. She takes the hatchet from under her mattress, and remember, this is TV, so no boobies. But apparently, there were boobies in the European cut because Europe has all the fun.
we need to see Bewitched. This is a breast. Yeah.
I was told Samantha's boobies were in this. Anyway, she goes to the spare room, calls Abby's name, gets her to turn around, and then starts hacking the shit out of her. Once Abby is dead, she washes herself off in a basin, redresses, goes downstairs with the bloody water, dumps it in the basement crapper, and then hides the hatchet. And Montgomery is really good in this whole sequence. Like, I'm actually kind of afraid of her. And this is nice suburban witch mom, you know? She looks very cold and very blank, and just kudos to her. She goes back upstairs, and there's this really great sort of Dutch angle tracking shot as she goes up. I really liked it. She falls asleep in her bed until the sound of her father coming home wakes her. From this perspective, we now see that she wasn't laughing at Bridget on the landing. She was laughing at the fact that she can see Abby's bloody corpse from her angle, which is really dark. She goes to her father. She strokes his face. No, he strokes her face. She strokes his hair. He says she's a strange girl, 1 minute cold and hard, the next as loving as any parent could dream of. She kisses him on the mouth and leaves him on the sofa. Okay, I'm trying not to read too much in this, but is this relationship a little weird?
I kind of got that through the flashbacks that there's an insinuation that maybe there was an incestuous relationship going on here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was yeah. I you don't kiss your kids on the mouth.
No, no, it was strange. I'm like, I don't know. Am I being weird or is this weird? I couldn't quite tell. Anyway, so she goes back downstairs, strips again, and this time she lets her hair down for some reason.
I did not understand that. Why let your hair down where you can get it even messier? I would think you would want to pull back, but
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
hey,
agreed.
maybe she learned from her mistakes from her first murder a few minutes before, and she said, "No, this time I'm going to let my hair down."
I'm gonna enjoy it this time. She grabs the hatchet, goes back upstairs. Again, she waits until Andrew looks at her before she kills him. And then the clock strikes 11.
Okay, if I'm in that situation, I don't want my dad's last thing he sees is my naked body. I would have just clubbed him to death without saying, "Hey, Dad." And he turns around, "What?" I think I would have just started hacking, but
Well, I think in the context of this movie, she's got a lot of vindictiveness in her, and she wants both Abby and Andrew to know, yeah, I'm doing this to you. You know, I
yeah,
think she wanted them to see it was her. So Lizzie, nude and covered in blood, goes to the kitchen to wash herself and the hatchet off. Then she tosses the hatchet into the shitter, and she stares at nothing again, flashing back to her father, like little brief little snippets. And then we go back to the verdict. She is found not guilty. The crowd cheers. Emma is relieved, sort of. She's relieved, but she also completely ignores Lizzie calling to her and just leaves the courthouse alone. There's a crowd and a band waiting outside, and this town is so happy this happened. I mean, they're still making money off of it, so
yeah.
she looks up to see a pigeon flying. Symbolic, because the pigeon, she's free. Um, Lizzie gets that cold look on her face again and then goes home. I was disappointed that we did not get any shots of Hosea after the verdict was read because I really wanted him to eat crow. Did you notice that? I was looking.
Yeah. Um, that I think by that point he probably just had no reaction. He knew he'd lost.
Yeah, yeah. So back at the house, Emma's already there when Lizzie arrives, and Lizzie is just happy that it's all over. Emma sounds not as enthused. And then Lizzie says something a little strange. She says, "We're free now, finally." So Emma asks again, and she says, "I'll never mention it after this. Did you kill father?" No one gives a shit about Abby. Um, and Lizzie just doesn't answer. She gets that look on her face again, and credits. We get a text scrawl saying that Lizzie moved into a mansion months later, but stayed in Fall River and lived there until she died. Emma died 9 days later, or 9 days after Lizzie died,
Yeah.
and the case technically remains unsolved. I do think it's worth noting, the movie doesn't mention this, that Lizzie and Emma had a falling out in 1905 and never spoke again. Then we hear some children saying the rhyme, and then the credits play. The end.
What was her falling out over?
Unsure. I believe they had thrown a party and they had some sort of fight, and that's all anyone really knows. In Lizzie Borden Took an Axe, they basically have Christina Ricci confess, or Lizzie confess to Emma in like a really smug way. Like she whispers what she did in her ear, and then she sits back and just starts drinking her tea, and Emma starts crying and leaves. I doubt that's what really happened, but who knows?
Not to give away too much of our history, but we both experienced a narcissistic sociopath in our lives for quite a while. And that's what Lizzie's behavior reminded me of, someone who just could not possibly think beyond themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, that's in her mind. Um, stepmom and dad are hurting me, so I'm going to just take them out because there's no emotional connection.
Yeah,
She can mimic emotions, but she just isn't emotional.
yeah,
And
like she clearly doesn't actually care about Emma. She's just manipulating her to get her to keep helping her and feeling sorry for her and taking care of her.
yeah,
Um, but on the other hand, if your dad's making you eat rotten food every day, I kind of get it. But again, I'm not 100% convinced that the real Lizzie Borden really committed the murders. There were a couple other suspects, a couple other, you know, missing contacts, but it's possible she did. I don't know for sure.
I'm going to write something down here. Tabitha's coming over to eat on Saturday. Make for damn sure the food is fresh. Okay. I don't
I
want
will
you to
bring the
kill me.
hatchet. Yeah.
Okay. Do you, how accurate do you, in your own opinion, how accurate do you think this movie is?
It seems pretty accurate just from what I've read. There's not a lot of the whole scene where she commits the murders is speculation, but everything up to then seems pretty based on like factually, here's what happened next, here's what happened next. Um, like Lizzie Borden took an axe, obviously takes dramatic liberties. Lizzie from 2018, like I said, it's a whole love story between her and Bridget that is not fact, it's speculation. So I think this is probably the most accurate one I've seen. What do
Yeah,
you think?
I I would say if I had to put a percentage, I would say I was 80 to 85% sure that she did it. What has always bothered me though is um, how she could scrub herself twice in a very short period of time. And remember, this is at a time before there are terry claws, so it's not easy to dry off. But
Yeah,
she, especially the second murder of her dad with her hair down, you're going to get that all over you. And there was just no evidence that she had that. So I've always wondered, I've always thought that she probably did it, but I've always wondered how she pulled it off.
yeah, that was my thing. They're like, oh, well, she was naked, didn't get on a dress. Okay, fine. None of it got in her hair. No
Yeah,
one saw any blood in her hair because her hair was dry minutes later. So
yeah.
yeah.
And she's naked, and with all that blood splatter, she's going to get it on places on her body she can't reach. I
Hmm.
would assume.
Yeah,
Um, so that part kind of gives me that 50%. Maybe someone else did it. Maybe there was conspiring with the maid, and she
that's
had
true.
help cleaning up and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It does seem like she did it, but then, like you said, you start thinking about the actual evidence, and it's like, if she did, she probably didn't do it alone. So who knows?
Okay, do you think I saw this when it aired, saw it later, or this is the first time I've seen it?
75. You were pretty young. I'm gonna say you saw it later.
No, I actually saw this when it aired.
Really?
Yeah, I had two older sisters, and they were always
Uh,
into this stuff. So yeah, I saw it when it aired. Um, I remembered parts of it. I remember the dress burning. I remember her saying someone's killed father. I remember her saying fly to the pigeon, whenever she was let loose. Yeah, when you're yeah, I was like 9 years old at this time, 8 or 9 years old. Sometimes you're not like fully invested in a movie, and I probably wasn't. That's why I probably only remember little snippets of it. Um, but yeah, I did see it on the original airing. Do you give this a classic or a trash it?
I'm good. Giving it a classic. I really enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I think it's a great movie. It's one of the better TV movies you can watch. Um, it's well presented. It's well acted, but it's very well presented in that there's not a whole lot of plot holes that we have discovered are many in most TV movies, even good ones. There's a lot of plot holes. This one
Right.
seems to be like the tightest one we've seen.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So
I feel like
yeah,
they probably researched it very well.
yeah, I enjoyed it, and I think if you're gonna watch, if you're into this kind of true crime stuff, this is definitely something you would need to watch. It's
Yeah.
I hate to say it's entertaining because it's such a the true crime is entertainment now. But
I
it
feel
is
like once you've hit
fascinating.
100 years, it's okay.
Maybe, maybe. I mean, people are still mad at that crucifixion thing from 2,000 years ago. So you ne- you never
And
know.
a lot of people make fun of it too.
So, um, you know,
I do hold on. I do recommend if you are interested in the story or you like true crime, I do recommend you check out Lizzie Borden Took an Axe from 2014. I remember liking that one when I saw it.
Christina Ricci is so good in everything.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, Black Snake Moan is my favorite movie she was in, and nobody
That
else has
movie's
seen it.
so underrated. No one knows
Yeah,
about that movie.
nobody else has seen it. I'm thinking,
It was just us. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Samuel L. Jackson was awesome in it, and the
Hmm.
music's awesome, and Justin Timberlake is in it, and Christina Ricci's in it. It's just a great movie. But
It is.
we're not here to talk about that, are we? Next week, I am going to one of my childhood crushes. Um, it's okay, she's 63 now, so but um, and she's going to come up quite a few times in made-for-TV movies. The wonderful actress from Little House on the Prairie, Melissa Sue Anderson, uh, and the movie is called Midnight Offerings,
And okay, I've not seen this one. Okay.
1981. I think you'll be entertained. So,
Okay. Where can I watch it?
this movie is only available on YouTube. So you're going to
Okay.
have not the best quality, but it is available on YouTube. I was vacillating between this and another one, and both of them are on YouTube only. But yeah, you can go to YouTube, you can watch it, and enjoy the heck out of it. And then next week we're going to break it down
Sounds good. I can't wait.
like hammer time. Break it down. Show me. Yeah. So, um, well, Tabitha, you have a good one, and we will see you
Too.
next week when we do Midnight Offerings.
Bye.
Bye bye.